Today on the Austin Report, we're going to be talking about animals, animal rights, animal cruelty, and our part to play in the world of animals, in America and as humans. This is a relatively sticky issue, but I believe some quotes pertaining to animal rights and animals will be appropriate, so we're going to open up with those. Jeremy Bentham said, "The question is not can they reason, nor can they talk, but rather, can they suffer?" Abraham Lincoln said, "I care not for a man's religion whose dog and cat are not the better for it." Ellen DeGeneres said, in jest, I ask people why they have deer heads on their walls. They always say because it's such a beautiful animal. There you go. I think my mother is attractive, but I have photographs of her. Joseph Wood Crutch said, when a man wantonly destroys one of the works of man, we call him a vandal. When he destroys one of the works of God, we call him a sportsman. And Henry Beston, in his book The Outermost House in 1928, said, "The animal shall not be measured by man. In a world older and more complete than ours, they move finished and complete, gifted with the extension of the senses we have lost or never attained, living by voices we shall never hear. They are not brethren, they are not underlings, they are other nations, caught with ourselves in the net of life and time, fellow prisoners of the splendor and travail of the earth." And I think the quote that sums everything up best is from St. Francis of Assisi, who says, "If you have men who will exclude any of God's creatures from the shelter of compassion and pity, you will have men who will deal likewise with their fellow man." I am not advocating animal rights should be equal to humans. Far from it. We are humans. We are higher than they are. I mean, whether or not you want to look at it evolutionarily, if you believe in evolution, if you want to look at it from the perspective of the Judeo-Christian God, whatever your perspective you want to look at it, we might not be that different from animals from a biological standpoint, but we have been gifted with reasoning, right and wrong, the ability to self-reflect. These are all things which animals lack, so far as we know. I am not an advocate of PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I think they go too far. Animals should be treated with care and compassion, but we can kill them, we can eat them, but it should be done in a way that causes the least amount of pain and suffering. If you're going to hunt, hunt because you need the food, or hunt because you're going to give the food to someone else. Don't kill a deer just to stick its head on the wall, nor a turkey just to display it spread out in all of its glory because you killed it. Take the meat and use it. Take as much as you can from an animal and use it. Put it to good use. It's what the Native Americans did. It's what many of the cultures that have shrunk or disappeared because of the civilized world taking over. They have all utilized that same principle of use every single bit of nature that you can. Now, this whole issue was brought up because I was listening to the radio today when I heard a commercial talking about puppy mills. I was completely unfamiliar with the term. I wasn't exactly sure what it was. So I did some research, and I have it right here. What is a puppy mill? Or better put, what is an animal mill? One website I went to said that while this webpage refers to puppies and puppy mills, please keep in mind that ferrets, kittens, birds, guinea pigs, and many other animals we have as pets can be bred irresponsibly and sold to the public with one consideration in mind: profit. This is taking God's creation, taking animals, whether or not you believe they were created or they were evolved, taking these brilliant animals and breeding them for profit. So a puppy mill is a breeding facility that mass produces purebred puppies, which are typically sold at 8 weeks of age to brokers and retail operations across the U.S. Puppy mills have long concerned the Humane Society of the United States, HSUS. The documented problems of puppy mills include overbreeding dams, inbreeding, minimal veterinary care, poor quality of food and shelter, lack of socialization with humans, overcrowding cages, and the killing of unwanted animals. To the unwitting consumer, the situation frequently means buying a puppy facing an array of immediate veterinary problems or harboring genetically born diseases that do not appear until years later. Sadly, some dogs are forced to live in puppy mills for their entire lives. They are kept there for one reason only: to produce more puppies. Repeatedly bred, most of these brood bitches are killed once the reproductive capability wanes. Here are some facts that I found about puppy mills. These don't apply to all puppy mills, but they certainly apply to a good number of them. Puppy mills are distinguished by the inhumane conditions and the constant breeding of unhealthy and genetically defective dogs, solely for profit. They are kept in small wire cages for their entire lives, almost never allowed out, and they hardly ever touch solid ground or grass to run and play in. Many dogs lose their feet and legs when they are caught in the wire floors of the cages and cut off as the dog struggles to free themselves. We posted a picture of these wire cages you can see on the Facebook page. Just look for it on the Austin Report. Very often there's no heat or air conditioning in a puppy mill. The dogs freeze in the winter and die of heat stroke in the summer, and puppies can cook on the wires of the cages in the summer. Here's where it starts getting rather interesting. Female dogs are bred the first time they come into heat and are bred every heat cycle. It's very bad for a female dog, in case you didn't know. They are bred until their worn-out bodies can't produce any longer, and then they are killed. Often they are killed by being bashed in the head or shot. Sometimes they're sold to laboratories or dumped. This is often by the time they reach 5 years old. The food that is fed in puppy mills is often purchased from dog companies by the truckload. It is sometimes made of the sweepings from the floor, and it's so devoid of nutritional value that the dog's teeth rot at early ages. Dogs in puppy mills are debarked, often by ramming a steel rod down their throats to rupture their vocal cords. Approximately 3,500 pet stores in the United States sell puppies. They sell approximately 500,000 puppies a year. It is estimated that the puppy industry in Missouri is valued at $40 million a year. The puppy industry in one county in Pennsylvania, Lancaster, is valued at $4 million a year. So this is a pretty big economy. And there are 7 states that are known as puppy mills in the United States because they have the majority of puppy mills in the country. They're Missouri, Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Pennsylvania. There is a law about this, the Animal Welfare Act, and many states have laws that purport to regulate puppy mills, but the fact is the laws are rarely enforced. And something that really bothers me is this definitely violates any kind of ethical treatment of animals. I'm fine with breeding dogs. That's totally okay. I'm even fine with them being bred in a warehouse. That's cool too. But they need to have proper veterinary care. They need to have proper temperature control. They're often, when they're shipped out, they're shipped in airplanes or freight trains, and they don't have proper ventilation. They don't have proper temperature control, food and water supplies. They end up having psychological damage from sitting in a pen for 5 years, just sitting there. What would you do for 5 years, just sitting somewhere? You'd go crazy, and these dogs do. These pets are inferior pets, sold to people claimed to be purebred or very good animals. They have veterinary problems right from the start. This is not only a problem with the treatment of animals, it's also a problem of you, the consumer, taking pets that are very inferior. That doesn't mean you should kill them. It means you should take care of them as best you can, but we can prevent this problem by shutting down puppy mills that are unethically treating animals and breaking the law. This is an issue of federal law and state law, not just we shouldn't hurt animals. Now, I'm a firm believer that God made animals. If God had intended us not to eat animals, He wouldn't have made them out of meat. But I think that this goes too far. And I think that quote by St. Francis of Assisi sums it up best. If we don't take care of our animals with care and compassion, what's to say that we're going to create men that treat other men with care and compassion? This has been this episode of the Austin Report. Tell us what you think on Facebook, on the forum, which is linked on Facebook, or comment on the YouTube video you see here. We're going to be talking about a lot of things next, including the iPhone 4, which has just come out. So be looking for that video, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching the Austin Report.